Let's let's talk about excuses and blame and what it means to take responsibility. That's what I want to talk to you today about. What do you blame in your life? Do you blame your parents? Oh yeah, I'm not rich because my parents taught me to save for a rainy day or to not spend my money and to be careful and that money doesn't grow on trees. Do you blame your parents for not being in the financial space that you want to be in? Do you blame society? Do you blame school because you weren't taught what you were meant to be taught and that's why you just didn't make it? Do you blame competitors and competition and saying, oh, well, yeah, they made it, or luck, yeah, they made it because they're lucky? Do you blame your peers and think, yeah, I got into a bad crowd and that's why I am the way I am? Who do you blame? Who is it to blame for how much money we have, for where we live, for what we do? Who do you blame? And I want you to consider that throughout this show because I've invited a a speaker on the show today who I've been following on LinkedIn for quite some time now. They are in the financial services space. And of course, we are connected, right? Because that's what I do. That's, who I'm connected with. But I didn't know this story about them. I'm going to get them to share it, okay? I don't want to disclose too much, but when they were talking to me offline about this, which is normally where the magic happens, where I get all the juicy goss and the juicy like stories offline. So I hope she can bring it to today's show. I know she can. But she was talking to me about what it was like growing up as a teenager, teenage pregnancy, parents this, parents that, university debt, but when you look at her on LinkedIn, you think, what a money honey. She is not only talented and incredibly successful, she's also a genuinely gorgeous, kind, loving person. And you don't actually get to hear and see and know about all the hardship that she might have gone through to be where she is today. And I want to let her do all the talking. And by her, I mean the gorgeous, delicious Sofia Jones from Penny House, who, as I said, this will be the first time I've ever spoken to her for more than 5 minutes because I've either bumped into her at an event and we've just crossed paths or we've just chatted on social media. So today I get to live her story. I get to hear her story for the first time with you. I know a snippet, but yeah, this, brace yourselves. This might be triggering. This might trigger some of your own beliefs, some of your own thoughts, some maybe your background, maybe your own stories. And I want you to just sit here and listen, tune in with an open mind and an open heart, with loving intentions. Obviously, let's be kind to those who are actually brave enough to come on the show and share their story. That's something we need to respect. But more importantly, I want you to really dig deep into your own story and seeing if there's something in yourself that has held you back because you're not taking responsibility and you are perhaps blaming everything outside of yourself. So let's get ready for Sofia Jones. Hello, my gorgeous. How you doing?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
Good. I'm glad to hear it, Sophia. So, there's some deep stuff that I've raised there, okay? But I do what before we dive into all of that, I do want you to do your own intro, in all your glory, in all that you've achieved. Please tell us who you are and what you do.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me today as well, I have to say. So I will start just with a brief overview of kind of who I am. I'm director and mortgage advisor at Penny House. Penny House, I started about 6 years ago now. And I started it because I discovered my love for mortgages. And when I first started, I think much like you, although we've only spoken for a few minutes, haven't we? I started, like many of us, kind of at my kitchen table, and then it went to my garden shed, which was freezing cold. And when I first started, it was all first-time buyers. And at that point in my life, so I was 24, I could really empathise, and I loved having just kind of gone through that process myself, because you can really get into their shoes and just really kind of just help people. So discovered my love back then, started the company, had no idea it would ever become like a proper company in terms of employing people and growing it. I just wanted to help people do mortgages. And it's kind of, if you fast forward obviously to today, we're 6 years on, and now I help quite a lot with all sorts of property finance and insurance. So whether that's buy-to-let portfolios, so clients with numerous properties, or business finance and business insurance.
That is, you've just said something that I think thousands of people can relate to, about starting on your kitchen table, then going to, I'm in the shed now, I'm doing the whole shed thing. So I've got this really funky shed, and I'm either sweating in the summer or freezing in the winter. Now I've discovered a new problem. I've sorted the heat problem. Oh no, the cold I'm not actually that bothered in the winter, but it's the lighting. Oh gosh, yeah, the whole shed thing now I need to sort out. But yeah, we've all been there. We've all been there, Sophia, where we start out thinking, is this actually even going to take off? Is this actually even going to work? But you have made it work. You worked it hard. And here you are 6 years later. But that's not where you started out, right? So why mortgages? Why did you even consider this industry?
So I never knew it was going to be mortgages. I always knew, or I always wanted to get into property. And I think there's a few reasons behind that. I wasn't around anybody in my family when I was younger who was in property. I wasn't. None of my friendship group were in property, so it didn't come from any of that. I just knew that there was some sort of financial security that came from property. And I'd seen or read certain areas, and that's where kind of financial security has come from. And the reason that was so important to me was me and my brother, when we were kids, my family we struggled quite a bit when we were younger, so financially. And my parents, they're lovely, they went through some hard times. They're incredible. They're still together. How they made it through as a couple through that time, I never would have appreciated as a kind of 6 to 13-year-old. But I look at them now, I think they're incredible. But we weren't very wealthy, and we struggled a bit. And I think that gave me an absolute passion, although I didn't really know it at the time, or some sort of driver that instilled in me that property was going to be a backup plan. And whatever I did, I needed to make sure that we were going to have a roof over our head, and that there was always some sort of backup for financial security. So that, and then you fast forward a few years, and I had a bit, probably not linked, but I had a bit of a rough time at school. And I think that I think I've heard a few people say this, not necessarily on your podcast, but when you're self-employed, some people that I know are also self-employed have always known they're going to be self-employed. And what I mean when I say that about me is that I didn't like being told no at school. I didn't like necessarily following the rules. So I wasn't necessarily the model student, let's say. So I kind of dropped out of school, was in and out of school. And then I had my son very young. So I was 16 when I gave birth to him, 6 weeks before my GCSEs. And until that point, I had no drive. I had no drive whatsoever, but it's still me. So I was still, my core kind of, I'm a very driven person, but I just didn't know it at the time. And then I had my son, and it was like some defining moment, I suppose you could call it. It was like a switch. And I just knew that I wanted to do much better for him, to kind of show him what an education was, or just do better than I was doing. So I had him at 16, and then I took myself back into education so that I could get into university, because that's kind of the cookie cutter, isn't it, of this is where you should go. And I had no idea what I was going to do. Went to university, and instead of going out and partying all night and having highlighter on my face, I'd leave the library at 3 a.m. But it meant that I could save up enough money. So when I graduated uni, I'd have enough for my first house, because that was the only way I was going to buy a house. So I did that, and when I bought my first place, that I then was just kind of discovered mortgages, and then I realised that I was going to fall in love with it. So I just thought, if I could do this as a single mum from no money and buy my first place and then renovate it and then rent it out, because it was an absolute nightmare of a house, then I could show other people how to do it. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's kind of where it came from.
Wow. Wow. And obviously there's a lot of stuff to unpack there. So I do appreciate you being so candid and vulnerable to share that with us. You know, it would have been easy to come on the show and been like, oh yeah, so my business is, 6 years old and we're phenomenal and we're doing so well and we do this and we do that and go into kind of that, I'm perfect pitch. But actually we know that to get to that point, you've had a journey, right? You've had your own stories that make you what you are today. I'm sure there's no regrets there, right? I know you wanted things to be different.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's the hard things that make you, they give you confidence and they show you what you're made of. They give you resilience, and you can look back and go, whether you're working on the kitchen table, working in the kitchen shed, whatever it is that you're doing, you can look back and just go, yeah, I was going to be okay. You don't think you're going to be okay at the time.
No.
But
Yes.
it's when you look back and go, yeah, I did that, I'm okay. It just, even in the most insecure moments, you can go, yeah, I'm okay, and it's going to be okay. Just keep going.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, so that's what I was saying about in the intro. Most people would probably look at those situations, oh, I got pregnant at 16, that's why I didn't have a career. Oh, I didn't do my GCSEs, that's why I've got bad education because, I accidentally, whatever the case may be. But people might blame those situations and make them become a weakness and make them become a hindrance, rather than what you did was you took that situation and it fueled you, whether it was having a maybe a less so abundant upbringing. I guess you weren't like swimming in cash, and so you use that situation to fuel you for the future, and that gave you that mindset to never feel like that again. And that's actually, most entrepreneurs have come from nothing, because when you're given everything, then you don't have that hunger, you don't have that burning desire to create or to innovate, because you've got it right. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, and I thank you. I don't want to blame those situations. I genuinely thank them, because, and it was never that bad. It's all relative, isn't it? It was never that bad. You can always compare it to somebody who's in a far worse position, not to make yourself feel better, but so you don't kind of play the violin, so to speak. But grew up in the UK. Luckily, could have not grown up in the UK, and it would have been far worse. Got a lot of opportunity and stuff here. But yeah, I'm very grateful for those situations. I didn't feel grateful at the time, but if you look back at them, yeah, you're completely right. They're the things that drive you.
Yeah, and we all do this. I've just caught you doing it, and I've done it before, but we all like justify, like, no, it could have been, I don't know if it's a British thing or if it's a female thing, but it's definitely a fighter thing. Like, definitely fighters, survivors, strong people say, yeah, no, it could have been worse, but no, I'm all right. Actually, we don't recognize just how tough we had to be in that situation. You're really like kind of, palming it off like, yeah, no, it was all right. I mean, it could have been worse. Like, because we want to be grateful and we want to be, we, like you say, we don't want to play the violin, but actually those situations that you did go through, for some people, they've become crippled because of it, right? They actually can put you into a really negative state, but you came out of it fighting, and that's why to you it feels like, oh yeah, no, it was all right, could have been worse, because you have that fighter instinct in you. That's why you don't think. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Completely understand what you're saying. I think there's a part, and I think a lot of us do that. You're completely right. I think there's a part of it maybe that doesn't want to acknowledge it, because you don't want to relax too much. You don't want to become too self-confident or too assured of yourself, and you think, I don't know, that's just me. Don't want to relax too much and think I can handle it too well, otherwise it might all go wrong.
Yeah, no, exactly. We've still got to keep our guard, right? We're still like,
Mm.
yeah, no, it's all right, yeah. And that was actually the whole point of the money honey is first of all in the name itself, I thought, who am I to be that sassy? Gosh, I thought I was going to be ridiculed for calling myself the money honey or calling the speakers and the guests on the show money honeys because it just sounded too like we got this. And actually, I wanted to show that whether you've got it, whether you're confident or not, it's not something that you are born with. It's not like a talent that you just wake up in the morning, you're like, wow, I'm confident and I'm strong. You have to work on it all the time. You have to work on it daily. You can't just get through situations because you were born with the innate talent of being able to just fight your way through things.
I
Right.
love the name. Yeah, no, I love the name. And it's you're right, and you've got to work on stuff massively. And I don't know if you're kind of into self-development and things like that, podcasts and other ones in terms of
Absolutely.
what you're
What are
doing.
your
But
favorites? What do you do then? How do you nurture your own mental well-being and your own confidence? How do you run a business for 6 years and feel strong?
so it all started at uni again, actually, in terms of kind of self-development and learning or knowing that you can kind of teach yourself anything you want to. And we're so lucky to be in the years, in the years that we are in terms of resource, going on to Spotify or wherever it is you want to go on to and learn whatever you want to learn, you can learn within reason. And well, you probably could, just whether you can qualify for it or not. Anyway, different story. But at uni, it was about money. So I was not financially astute at all. I had no idea. And that, I studied everything that I could online. And that taught me with the kind of 10 grand a year, whatever it is, like a save from student loans and spend all of it and this kind of stuff, that if I opened, I think I had 5 different bank accounts at the time, and this was from Money Saving Expert, that you could get all the interest, that you could circle it around, get the interest. And it was like a couple of pounds a month. But that then combined with putting it to premium bonds or whatever other little tricks and things that you could do, then meant that I could save money in certain ways. And that then grew a deposit for a house. So that kind of started then. And then I've carried it on. I just love it. I'm such a geek. Like if I find something that I'm into, I'm so obsessed with it. But I just won't put it down. And that's either saving money or what are my favourites at the moment. So Jay Shetty's really good, just in terms of, if you listen to him, you'll know. Who else? I quite like Matthew Hussey, but it depends on the podcast, just in terms
I'm
of
not listened,
communication.
not listened to that one.
His is a love life one, so a lot of it is relationships. So but not just romantic. So it's communication, how to empathize with people, just how to understand people. And then Diary of a CEO is a big one for business.
Yeah.
Really, really love that one.
Yeah.
High performance podcast. I mean, to be honest, I could go on, anything. And then there's much more geeky ones with science, but I won't bore you with those.
Yeah, no. I well, please. You never know. There could be a listener. It's not about me. It's there could be someone that totally relates, and it's about being your true self. So please share whatever it is that you enjoy. But yeah, all the ones that you've just mentioned, are ones that I follow. People that I follow. But can we just not gloss over the point that you made? I keep trying to bring it back, but you went to university, right? Got a student loan, didn't spend it, and used that money to then buy yourself a home. So you came out of uni richer with a deposit for a house. Am I getting that right?
So I had to spend some of it because that's what student loan is for,
like rent or whatever. Yeah.
But there's an element of kind of living costs and things. And what I did was I worked another job. So I would put, bless him. So I'd put Ashton, my son, to bed, and then I'd go and work a job, or go to the library, so that I could save, because it meant that I had some sort of spending money. But instead of going out and kind of partying and spending all the money, then it meant that I could save the money, and then have a deposit at the end. But I also had a young child, so me coming in at 4 a.m. in the morning from a party with highlight on my face and going straight to lectures like some of the other students, which is brilliant. It's what you're supposed to do at university, right? It wasn't me, but it also meant I could save. So
yeah, I mean, come on. So this is exactly what my passion is, as to why, as a Manuka Media, my day job, why I help financial advisors raise their game and elevate their brand on social media, because with knowledgeable people like yourself educating the next generation and even our own generation with how to make better financial decisions, because without money, love and health, what else is there?
yeah,
Money, love, and
Agreed.
help. That's it. And I am so privileged and honored to be working in the money sector, to help people in the money space, because we need more people like you on the screen sharing these really valuable ways of thinking, top tips, hacks. If you are at university right now listening to this podcast and you're thinking, gosh, I went to uni and came out with 40 grand, probably now 90 grand, isn't it? Like on average, like 90 grand worth of debt. Think about coming out with a deposit for a house. I mean, I probably today it might not be as attainable as what it was in your, I have to be realistic in that matter, because obviously houses are worth a lot more now, it's more expensive, etc., etc. But, I, like you, Sophia, I worked 4 jobs. I didn't have a child or anything. I just, the money was never, the loan was never enough to really live a comfortable, student life. And I wasn't a partier or a drinker either. But it was expensive. Life at uni, living on your own, was still nonetheless expensive. And I just didn't want to constantly, even though my parents helped me a lot, I just didn't want to constantly go to the bank of mum and dad for help. So I got myself 4 jobs, not just for the money, but for the experience. So you can come out of uni, take Sophia's example as a lesson, as a this is your clue that, you don't come out of university with a degree and, some amazing party memories, but actually you can come out with real life work experience, and actually money in your pocket to start, living a normal life back in society, right? Sophia, what would you say to someone going to uni today?
Yeah, well, firstly, 4 jobs, that's amazing.
Oh
And
yeah, it
then,
was 4 part-time jobs. Like it was like here and there. I was like teaching Spanish, Italian, and then I did like, the uni tours. I was doing like I was like a student ambassador, showing people around uni, and it wasn't like,
you're doing what
yeah.
I did now. You're brushing it off. You're not allowed to do that.
Oh,
No.
it's true. No, it's true. You see, I've just done it. Thank you for catching me. This is why, the whole women empowering women is a real thing, because yeah, you're supposed to catch me out and make me better. So yeah, you're absolutely right. 4 jobs is hard, but I love it. So like I see why I don't see it as a hard thing. But yeah, whilst people were partying, I was like, oh yeah, and I was a waitress as well in a restaurant. But actually, those were like my best nights, because like I would waitress in a restaurant, and then after we'd all go out for like a drink, and I was going out with adults rather than uni students. I've always like been hanging around with like more mature people. So I was like, oh, those parties are well boring at the student union, like everyone's dressed up as a nurse or whatever. I'm like, oh, how trash. And I don't know that you're supposed to do that at uni, it's great, but I was just like, now I'm going to Windsor for cocktails, like
I
I
love
was just
that. Yeah, but it depends what stimulates you, doesn't it? And the thing that
yeah.
you can learn, I mean, I don't need to tell you, but you can learn so much from older people, or just most people in general. There's usually something to learn from everybody. But yeah, I mean, and the power of compounding probably was the biggest one that just kind of hit me. I had no idea what compounding was. And we now know, and a lot of us now know, that compounding is everything. You go one way or another, whether it's health or wealth or any of those things. Just any little thing that you can do, it's going to lead to the right thing in the right direction. We're just all so impatient, and I think even now, looking at my son who's now 16, bless him, but you can see the impatience because everything is so instant, and it's just teaching that resilience and teaching that. I want to say patience. I'm probably one of those impatient people, but if I can see the end goal, I know where I'm going, I will hang on in there until there's no more hanging on in there. So it's just keeping that, have the end goal in sight, or at least a rough idea.
Absolutely. And the goal might change, and certainly the way you get there, yeah, as they say, like success is not a straight line, right? But yeah, it's that resilience. I think it's more about resilience. You have to figure it out as you go. You're not going to just stick to something because you're good at it. You have to stick to it and get good at it. Like that's the whole point. But how about today, Sophia? How do you make an impact today in your business? Right, you're 6 years in now. What kind of people do you serve and help and assist, and how do you do that?
So so as I said, kind of at the beginning, I touched on it at the beginning. I started off a lot with first-time buyers, and Penny House, kind of as a team now, we still deal a lot with first-time buyers and a lot of remortgages and house movers. But I deal a lot more with the buy-to-let portfolio, so landlords that have got more properties, and then also the business insurance. I love a challenge, and getting into kind of those policies and things that tend to be slightly more complex sometimes. Although, to be honest, given the current market, there aren't that many less complex cases, I think, for some brokers. But yeah, I like getting stuck into those. And whether it's a first-time buyer mortgage or whether it's a buy-to-let portfolio mortgage, it's the end outcome. Like, I love helping people, and I know it's quite a cliche thing to say, but I love just showing people things. And if you can save them money and see the joy or see the happiness from that, it just brings me a lot of happiness doing that. Because you've done something. You can go on holiday, or you've let them sleep well at night, or there's something that you brought into their life and you've helped them some way. And I've learned a lot. I've got so much more to learn, but I've learned a hell of a lot over the last few years, whether that's in professional or personal life. And I've got some buy-to-lets and things, so I can really empathise with kind of what they're going through and what they're doing. And I will literally just talk to people on the phone constantly, just to kind of impart some of that knowledge, because I want to help. So yeah, I genuinely love doing it. I hope I never stop doing it.
I love that. Yeah, and I can see you loving it, because you're there for the people. You're not just getting hung up on like the industry as an industry. You're there for the people. So I can tell you, and that no 2 days are the same, right? So that's why you're always going to be feeling refreshed and new to the role, because there's always something to learn, and you're speaking to different people all the time, and you are so hot on like developing yourself and learning, that you've always got something new to say. So that's really, really exciting. Really, really great to hear that. So the other thing I wanted to ask you is, from an advisor perspective, right? So seeing it from your side, when you're speaking to the population, when you're speaking to people and they're making inquiries about mortgages, what is their degree of understanding about investments, finance, mortgages, property? Like, what I'm trying to get at here is, how well is our society educated on money and finances? How confident are they and knowledgeable on this subject?
Can be very varied, like anything. But I'd say now more than ever, even those who are experienced and have had mortgages before. I mean, if you've come in maybe in the last 6, 7, 8 years, it's probably very different to anything that you've seen. Probably longer than that, but it's different to what you've seen before. We're in a very different market now anyway. So even if you are experienced in some way, shape, or form as a buy-to-let landlord, even, or what we're seeing now with stress rates and things, it is still really different. Everybody's learning all the time. So it's one of the things that I get from first-time buyers, and even those who have got mortgages already, they almost feel stupid for asking a question, which, I mean, there's no such thing as a silly question, right? I know it's very cliche, but there really isn't, and especially not. I mean, I speak to people that are really, really experienced that don't know what's going on, and you're not supposed to know what's going on. It's all about just sharing the knowledge, really. But it's broad. It's really broad. Some know a lot more than others, but yeah, it's
And what
changed.
can we all do personally? Because you're a great learner and you know how to really deep dive into a subject and learn. But let's say I'm a woman, and or a male, whoever, or a teenager, someone who just thinks, right, I just want to really take control of my financial well-being. I really want to understand what money does, how it works, and how to grow it, keep it, save it, invest it. Where are the beginner level kind of tasks or tools or resources that we can pull upon to build our confidence around money? What could we do?
So I would, although it can be a bit of a minefield, coming onto online and looking at podcasts and things like that, because some can be really complex and others can't. But that would be my starting point, 100%. Things like the Money Honey podcast. Listen to this, go for a run, listen to it when you're running. And then there's so many other subjects. Just type in whichever subject you're looking at and that you want to learn more on, and you'll find a wealth of things. Because finance from all areas can be quite broad, can't it? So, and there'll be some that some people find they won't find as interesting, let's say, as others. So just put it in Spotify or wherever it is that you want to listen, and kind of learn your subject. But take it with a pinch of salt. Obviously, it's anything can go up online, and also don't get too confused by it. I'm more than happy to speak to people about mortgages, but yeah, I won't chew their ear off about other things.
Yeah, you're right, because I think, the internet is such a beautiful and powerful thing, right? It's given us, I mean, with the internet, I found a house, a job, uni, like everything that I have found in life, I found it through the internet. Even a husband, I found a husband through an internet app. Like that's how phenomenal. I found a cat. That's how I bought my cat. So like, amazing things happen on the internet. However, like you said, anything can go up on the internet, and there's a lot of people who claim that they can do this and that, and that and they impose a lot of their strategies, like buy 12 buy to lets in 1 year doing this strategy, and then they speak to a mortgage broker, and a mortgage broker's like, no, you're having a laugh, like that's not going to happen. Like just stress testing a loan or affordability or just the time it takes to buy things these days, that's not achievable. And then all of a sudden you're the person that's poo-pooing on their plan, because you're actually speaking the real truth. You know what the lenders want to do. You know how it works. So yeah, do you ever come across that battle that people are like, oh, I've read this on the internet that I can do X, Y, Z, and you're like, yeah, no.
Always. I'm also really glad those people are actually looking into it, because it means they're interested and they're engaged, and they want to learn stuff. And then I'm more than happy to speak to them about it in my little excited way. But I just say I've never paid for any material ever, and I don't really see, and maybe it's because I don't know what I don't know, but I don't really see the need to pay for any kind of material like that. Obviously, I've paid for my mortgage qualifications years ago, but in terms of learning property or how to buy, how to refurbish, refinance, definitely go to a mortgage advisor because it's far easier. But those kind of things, I've never paid for a course. I've never done that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because people, they want to sell a course, and and hey, it being a content creator and in that world, I do see a place for that. When someone, because the internet, unless you have got the time to just dig, yes, you can eventually learn everything for free or a lot for free, but sometimes people just want a nice neat little crash course in something. And if it's like getting a PT. Do you get a PT? You can go to the gym for £30 a month or £60 a month, or you can get a PT for £300 a month. Like some people just, depends on where you're at, right? So, but yeah, just definitely be careful and cautious with the courses that you're buying or the money that you're spending on this stuff, when so much is available for free. Like, for example, speaking to an advisor like Sofia, like, she'll you can get a crash course on the phone. I'm sure she'd be happy to share something like that. One final question I wanted to ask you, and this is aside from work, but am I right in saying you're a runner?
I got into running a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just really realised that, I'm a workaholic. I always have been. I'm not really sure if I should be proud of that or not. Don't know. Anyway, I kind of realised in COVID that I needed to. That is so good for your head. I have all my best ideas running. So yeah. Kind of. I probably run. You probably laugh at me if you saw me running, but yeah, you can maybe put me in that
I'm a
category.
terrible runner. I would never judge anyone because I'm terrible. But no, I just wanted to highlight that because I think it comes with. I find that a lot of workaholics or a lot of high functioning, high value people who are like in business, they also have a passion for fitness because they need that escape, right? And I see that that's where you find yours, and you look incredible. You're in incredible shape, and I can see that obviously comes with your passion for fitness as well.
Thank you. Yeah, no, two things I need every day are some sort of exercise and then meditation. Otherwise,
Yes.
I turn into a crazy human.
Oh, yeah. Well, aren't we all? Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing those top tips. Meditation, fitness, definitely find some balance and peace within your body and your mind. So, because you can have a phenomenal business, but actually you're in very poor health, and what's the point? That's not abundance. That's not living abundant. So yeah, you need to have that balance. Sofia, any last words before we say goodbye to our listeners?
I'd just like to say it's been a pleasure to be on. So thank you very, very much for having me. And yeah, I hope that some of this has been useful.
Absolutely. You are so welcome. Thank you for being here with me today and for sharing your story. In the show notes, guys, you'll be able to find links to Sofia's social media pages. Okay. So I will share those. Anything you need, help, even if it's just a thank you, if it's just reaching out saying, hey, I'm vibing with you and just vibe together. Like, I'm sure Sophia will welcome you with a full heart. So thank you again for tuning into the Money Honey Show. Please give Sophia a thumbs up if you liked this episode. And if you think someone else could totally benefit from this, maybe you've got children who are going to university, or maybe you're going to university yourself and you need some help, then this is the show. Please share it with someone that you think could benefit from it. And I will see you on the next show. Thanks, guys.